Chocolate has an identity crisis. One word sounds fancy and mysterious. The other sounds like it belongs in a mug. But somehow, they both come from the same place. And yet, people argue about them like they're completely different things, as if one wears a monocle and the other owns a microwave. I'm Professor Everything, and today we'll be answering the question, what is the difference between cacao and cocoa? Right here on Explaining Everything. First things first, cacao and cocoa come from the exact same plant, Theobroma cacao, which translates to food of the gods. That's a lot of pressure for something that melts on your fingers, if you even think about it too hard. The cacao tree produces large pods, each filled with cacao beans. Fresh from the pod, these beans are the original form of chocolate goodness, bitter, powerful, and completely unprocessed. At this stage, everything is simply cacao. No debate, no marketing, no Instagram captions, just pure potential. After harvesting, the beans go through fermentation and drying. Fermentation develops flavor while reducing bitterness, and drying prevents mold from taking over the bean like a tiny chocolate apocalypse. Without this step, chocolate would taste like regret. Here's where the story splits. After fermentation and drying, some beans go one way, others another. Some are roasted lightly, others heavily. This decision ultimately determines whether people call the final product cacao or cocoa. Think of them as twins who were identical at birth, but then one became a minimalist vegan influencer, and the other became a comfort food superhero. Cacao generally refers to chocolate products made from beans that are processed at lower temperatures. The beans are roasted lightly, or sometimes not at all beyond the natural heat from fermentation. This preserves more of the bean's natural compounds, like antioxidants and minerals. Because of this minimal processing, cacao is bitter, intense, and unapologetically bold. It's the chocolate equivalent of a dramatic indie film. Cacao doesn't ask if you want it to be sweet. It expects you to appreciate its depth. Fun fact, raw cacao is a misleading term. Technically, cacao isn't raw at all. Fermentation generates heat, and drying often uses sunlight. So raw cacao just means less roasted, not never seen warmth in its life. Cacao also leans into that health-conscious reputation. Brands often highlight its antioxidants and minerals, which is why it feels fancy, sophisticated, or even mysterious. But don't get intimidated. At its core, it's just the same bean behaving differently. Now, meet cocoa. Cocoa is what happens when cacao beans go through higher temperature roasting and more processing. The roasting mellows bitterness, develops deeper flavors, and produces that instantly recognizable chocolate taste. After roasting, the beans are ground into chocolate liquor. Fun trivia: despite the name, chocolate liquor contains no alcohol. Don't worry, you won't get tipsy unless you decide to eat a vat of it. From there, cocoa butter is separated from cocoa solids, and the solids are ground into the familiar cocoa powder. Cocoa is smoother, rounder, and comforting. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't judge your life choices. Cocoa just wants to sit in your mug, whisper sweet nothings, and let you feel like an adult with hot chocolate instead of crying in the pantry at 2 a.m. Higher roasting temperatures reduce some antioxidants and minerals compared to cacao. but the trade-off is flavor consistency, ease of storage, and overall deliciousness. Historically, this is why cocoa became the dominant choice worldwide. It travels well, stores well, and tastes reliably good no matter where you are. Here's where things get chaotic. There's no strict regulation for using cacao versus cocoa. Brands can label products whichever way they want, often for marketing purposes. Sometimes cacao is used to make something sound artisanal. Sometimes cocoa is used because it's familiar and comforting. Occasionally, both terms appear on the same package just to see if anyone will notice. Historically, cocoa actually originated from a spelling error when Europeans tried to adopt cacao. Instead of correcting it, they collectively shrugged and moved on, and here we are today, still arguing about it. Technically speaking, cacao is usually less processed and cocoa is more processed, but exceptions exist. Some cacao powders have undergone quite a bit of processing, and some cocoa powders are surprisingly close to their natural state. If you've ever been confused by labels, don't worry, you're just participating in a centuries-old chocolate naming saga. At the end of the day, cacao and cocoa aren't enemies. They're siblings from the same tropical pod. Cacao is bitter, bold, and minimally processed, while cocoa is smooth, comforting, and roasted for your pleasure. Neither is fake. Neither is inherently better. They just had different life experiences. Next time you see cacao and cocoa in the same aisle, you can finally nod knowingly instead of pretending the words are interchangeable. So whether you're sipping a bitter cacao latte like a sophisticated philosopher or dunking marshmallows into sweet cocoa like a cozy human, you now know exactly why they're different. If you now know the difference between the two, don't forget to like, subscribe, and enjoy that hot cocoa. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.